Right, okay, so this is something you sent me, Stevie, about Sabu's book. And I hadn't read Sabu's book, but you sent me a page from it, and I thought it was really funny. Which, which once again is something else I completely respect about Sabu, because dare I say, if I ever wrote a book myself, I'd do the same thing. And it was just a page of FUs of people he just hated in the wrestling business, and he just wanted to make a mention of it. So I really enjoyed that. Anyway,
You told me
mentioned
to
quite
do
a few
that in
people.
my book.
You should do. Damn, man, absolutely. I'll do it if I ever. I'll never do a book. Anyway, Sabu wrote a list of a few different people. I'm going to save one till the end because I want you to talk about this person specifically. But the first one he mentions is Kurt Angle. Now, I actually went back in the book, found out what the beef was. So it's the first time they met, or in WWE, the first time we met. Basically, Kurt was pretty darn disrespectful the way that Sabu told it. And what Sabu said was, to Kurt Angle, because I may have to wrestle you again one day, I won't hit you with a stiff FU, but maybe something just a little underneath that, and more professional. You know, like a, you, sir, I could do without. And then we skip this one, we'll say that's the end. The second one, Koji Kanemoto and his no-selling BS, FU, and your no-selling BS. And then Jim Ross, I say FU, for treating the Sheik like trash and ripping him off. You still owe him money, you something. Feel free to PayPal me the $150,000 or whatever it is at your early convenience, prick. Now, this is in regards to Jim Ross and the NWA made a deal with the Sheik to appear at a Detroit show. They said they paid him a fee, and then anything above $40,000 or $50,000 or whatever it was in the house, Sheik would get 50%. NWA didn't think he'd bring in any money at all. They got a huge house, and of course the Sheik was not compensated, as is the story in the book. To Ric Flair, and to, even though I may need him one day, Johnny the Dickhead Ace, F you both for your political BS. I would also like to add Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, and Michael Hayes to this list too, just because you all really suck. And
Hey,
to
I
Vince
know what's the
McMahon.
problem, Sabu. I'm your friend. You got a job for life here. What are you talking about?
If only Sabu was here so I could ask him the Johnny Ace story. But anyway, to Vince McMahon, believe it or not, I won't say F you to Vince because you never really said anything to my face that wasn't actually not somewhat professional. You've done a lot for the business that I love and given a lot of my friends work. So for all this, I do have respect for you. I will say this, though. You always shook my hand like a short bus meathead, almost pulling my shoulder right out the socket. So there you go. But let's get to
by
the
the
one
way,
that
Vince did act unprofessionally on camera, on TV, in the new ECW.
Oh.
The famous thing, walking down the high. This is when Mr. McMahon was a menace. Before even Do-Rag was even worse. Do-Rag Vince, but before that, he walked down the aisle, or should I say the hallway in the backstage area. Sabu was there. He turns to his left, looks. I mean, he's got his security. He goes, I thought I was in whatever town. It looks like I'm in Afghanistan. And we have a member of the Taliban right here. Yeah. So
Oh, amazing.
I would have
He
been,
was a menace.
If Sabu were here and he had said that live, I would have corrected him and he would have gotten sore. He goes, I forgot about that. He would have got angry. And I would have just threw the grenade in the room and walked away.
Oh, was he wound up at the time about that? Do you remember? Did he mention that to you?
He didn't mention it, but I didn't even know the promo existed because I wasn't watching ECW at the time. Even though I was with
You and most people, in fairness. Right, I saved this one till the end, and you know why, because it regards a friend of yours. It says, to Test, I would like to send a really big FU shout-out beyond the grave to a bastard who no-sold like an a-hole and always tattled like a baby. So, in the interview with me, the second one maybe, he said that in the new ECW, Test hurt him so badly that even Sabu was complaining. So if you're hurting Sabu, then you're hurting basically one of the toughest people on the roster. And Sabu thought that people had got into Test's head about having to be an ECW locker room leader and also to tighten up his work to the nth degree that he was killing everybody at this time. I wanted to bring this up to you because you were friends with Test for quite a number of years. Does this ring true with you?
Yeah, I do remember this. I remember that the Office, like I said, some of the biggest marks are in the Office. They didn't get that the ECW guys were working back in the day. So they were doing things about working strong style, being stiffer, making it look better. Obviously, making it look better is not hitting somebody harder because they will not sell. And there was something about Test when he was there, and he was definitely over as a heel. He had a great look. He added a lot to the brand, but there's also the thing about being in the WWE bubble of the wrestling bubble. And now you got Sabu coming in and other people. And Test was not somebody I think that was even familiar with the original ECW much. So it's just a clash of generations, a clash of ideas, a clash of maybe respect or Test being, it's like Sabu and Sabu being Sabu. Could be taken as being aloof, being an introvert, being like thinking he's better than everybody else. Test can be a loudmouth bully to some people, but you have to take them all and the personalities. And Test was so over the top and loud, and his character on TV was kind of like what it was backstage, but he didn't mean any harm by it. But definitely there was probably some people getting in Test's head because remember, Test was the WWE like prodigy at one point when he first came in, and then it was like a roller coaster ride. Then, just like Kurt Angle, I'm sure Test thought he was demoted by being put in the ECW. So there's probably some frustration, the office egging him on a little bit, and him trying to get back to the quote main roster of WWE. Some of this I witnessed, some of this I heard, and some of it is speculation. But I would trust Sabu that Sabu had his ear to the ground. Paul probably clued him in, and maybe Test even told him straight up, I'm going to work ECW style, brother. And Sabu's like, what is that? That's my guess. I like both guys, but I can see how both guys, too, with their personalities, could be misinterpreted to other people. And then that's wrestling.
You were wrestling Test a ton in like 2003, 2004.
Oh, he hit me with a boot so hard on a house show, my boot sole came off. I bumped so hard. My boot, literally, the sole flew in. It was in Salisbury, Maryland, and it flew into the fourth row, and then the fan gave it back to me after the show.
Oh, aha. We haven't done that yet.
Aha. I mean, but Test stuff was there, man. That boot killed me. Like, I'm sure I was just huge. So am I tougher than Sabu? No. It's just he was probably hitting Sabu harder than me.
I remember when Test came back to ECW, because I think he'd been let go for a while, and then he came back.
Aha.
I remember when Test came back, because I know he was let go for, I don't know what the reason was, but he came back after a while. He was cut up at that point. He was shredded at that point. So, I mean, if nothing else, he was taking physicality seriously in all different interpretations of that. But
I was still the most drug tested wrestler on the roster.
Mm-hmm. You should have just got Test to switch samples with you. I mean, if you were the tested one, just switch samples with him and then just send in tests.
Maybe they just thought because his name was Test, he didn't need to be tested. He was already a test. Wow, that's something right there.
Right, okay, that's been a theory for ages, because it's like, test, this is a mic test, because he was meant to be the roadie for like Motley Crue when he was brought in. That was
yes.
a test. Mm-hmm. Was the real joke that it was short for testosterone?
You know what? I can guess, knowing Vince McMahon and which brain he was working off of, possibly. Everything in wrestling seems to be a rib, and if it draws money, that's even funnier.
But one thing to mention, because you've mentioned Test a few times, good dude, though.
I always thought he was good, dude. This is the beauty of wrestling conventions after you're out of the wrestling bubble, after you're out of WWE. I talked about China. It was extremely difficult to work with China, but outside of wrestling and the poisoned environment in the bubble, everybody seems to be pretty decent. Some people are still in the bubble mentally and still jerks or whatever, but Test, like when you got paid, I think the thing with Test is, and just like anybody else, if you don't sell for it and you don't look like it bothers you, you give it back to them or whatever in a friendly way, it just kind of levels off. You have to understand that's kind of what I always loved about the business. It could be frustrating at times, but just all these different personalities that you have to navigate. Some are negative, some are positive. Some of the negative ones, you have to change your perspective to look at it more positively, or else you're always going to be mad. That's the way I looked at it.